Welcome to Pharaohs and Power, the rise and fall of Egypt's greatest dynasties. In this video, we journey through the golden sands of time to uncover the epic saga of Egypt's legendary rulers, from the god kings who built the pyramids to the mysterious collapse of once mighty dynasties. Discover how ambition, innovation, and divine rule shaped a civilization that stood for over 3,000 years. What secrets lie buried beneath the Nile's shadow? What led to Egypt's fall from glory? Join us as we unravel the stories, symbols, and struggles behind one of history's most awe-inspiring empires. Let the legacy begin. Pharaohs and Power, the rise and fall of Egypt's greatest dynasties. Ancient Egypt stands as one of history's most enduring and iconic civilizations. For over 3 millennia, it flourished along the banks of the Nile, developing a distinctive culture, monumental architecture, and a complex religious and political system. Central to Egypt's political stability and grandeur were its pharaohs, rulers seen as divine intermediaries between the gods and the people. Yet, despite their immense power, no dynasty lasted forever. This essay traces the rise and fall of Egypt's most influential dynasties, exploring how their governance, achievements, and eventual declines shaped the course of Egyptian history. The role of the pharaoh. The term pharaoh refers to the monarchs of ancient Egypt, often considered divine or semi-divine beings. More than just kings, pharaohs were central religious figures, military leaders, and custodians of Ma'at, the concept of cosmic order and balance. Maintaining Ma'at was both a spiritual and political duty, and failure to do so could justify rebellion or divine punishment. The legitimacy of a dynasty often rested on its ability to project power, ensure stability, and win military victories. Dynasties rose and fell based on their capacity to balance these responsibilities. The early dynastic period, circa 3100 to 2686 BCE. Egypt's dynastic history begins with the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt by Narmer, also called Menes, founder of the First Dynasty. This period saw the establishment of centralized authority and the development of writing, specifically hieroglyphics. Though less grandiose than later epochs, these early rulers laid the foundations for Egypt's bureaucratic and religious institutions. The transition to dynastic rule was crucial. It transformed a fragmented society into a kingdom with enduring political structures. The Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE, the Pyramid Age. Often referred to as the Age of the Pyramids, the Old Kingdom was dominated by the Fourth Dynasty, under which the most iconic monuments, the Pyramids of Giza, were constructed. Pharaohs like Khufu, Cheops, Khafre, and Menkaure presided over this golden age. These rulers demonstrated unparalleled administrative power, commanding vast labor forces and resources to build massive tombs that were believed to aid in their divine transition to the afterlife. Yet the centralized nature of Old Kingdom power was both a strength and a vulnerability. As the pharaohs focused on monumental building projects, local governors, nomarchs, gained autonomy. Over time, the economic strain of pyramid construction, combined with weakening central control and possible climatic upheavals, e.g., drought, led to the kingdom's decline. By the end of the Sixth Dynasty, pharaonic authority had fragmented, ushering in the First Intermediate Period. The Middle Kingdom, circa 2055 to 1650 BCE, a renaissance of stability. Following a century of political fragmentation, the Middle Kingdom arose when Mentuhotep II of the 11th dynasty reunited Egypt. This period is often considered a classical age of culture, marked by advances in literature, art, and statecraft. The 12th dynasty, particularly under rulers like Senusret III and Amenemhat III, centralized power and expanded Egypt's borders into Nubia. Unlike their Old Kingdom predecessors, Middle Kingdom pharaohs emphasized accessibility and justice. The portrayal of pharaohs shifted, from godlike beings to more human rulers responsible for their people's welfare. However, the growing power of regional elites and foreign incursions, especially by the Asiatic Hyksos, began to destabilize the realm. By the end of the 13th dynasty, Egypt entered its Second Intermediate Period, marked by foreign rule and internal disorder. The New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE imperial glory. The New Kingdom represents the height of Egyptian power and imperial ambition. Founded by Ahmose I of the 18th dynasty, who expelled the Hyksos, this era saw Egypt extend its influence from Syria to Nubia. The pharaohs of the New Kingdom were warrior kings, empire builders, and prolific monument constructors. Thutmose III and empire building. Often called the Napoleon of Egypt, Thutmose III conducted numerous military campaigns that brought vast wealth and tribute into Egypt. His reign marked the peak of Egyptian imperial expansion. Akhenaten and religious revolution. One of the most controversial pharaohs, Akhenaten, attempted to replace Egypt's polytheistic traditions with monotheism centered around the sun disk, Aten. His religious reforms, art style, and capital at Amarna created an unprecedented cultural shift. However, the radical nature of his rule destabilized the state, and his successors, including Tutankhamun, quickly restored traditional religion. Ramses II, the Great Builder. Ramses II, Ramses the Great, of the 19th dynasty is perhaps the most famous Egyptian pharaoh. He led military campaigns against the Hittites, signed the first known peace treaty, and built monumental temples like Abu Simbel. His long reign brought stability and cultural flowering, though the seeds of decline were already planted. By the time of Ramses III in the 20th dynasty, Egypt faced internal strife, labor unrest, and invasions by the mysterious Sea Peoples. Economic decline and dynastic infighting eventually collapsed the central government, leading into the Third Intermediate Period. The Third Intermediate Period, c. 1069 to 664 BCE fragmentation and foreign influence. This period saw the fragmentation of pharaonic power, with rival dynasties in Thebes and the Delta region competing for legitimacy. Libyan and Nubian rulers, such as the 22nd and 25th dynasties, took control of Egypt. The Nubian pharaohs, especially Pi and Taharqa, sought to revive old kingdom traditions and restore order. Despite their efforts, Egypt became increasingly vulnerable to foreign influence. Assyrian invasions in the 7th century BCE weakened native dynasties and paved the way for more foreign domination. The late period, c. 664 to 332 BCE, a return to power and final decline. The late period began with the 26th dynasty under Santik I, who restored some degree of central authority. This dynasty reasserted Egyptian independence, reformed the military, and revived old religious practices. Despite these efforts, Egypt faced renewed threats from expanding empires. The Persians conquered Egypt in 525 BCE under Cambyses II, incorporating it into the Achaemenid Empire. Though briefly liberated under Amyrtaeus and later native rulers of the 30th dynasty, Egypt's days of sovereignty were numbered. The Ptolemaic dynasty, 332 to 30 BCE, Greek pharaohs. Egypt's final dynasty was established not by native Egyptians but by foreigners, specifically Macedonian Greeks following Alexander the Great's conquest. Ptolemy I, one of Alexander's generals, declared himself pharaoh and established a Greco-Egyptian dynasty that ruled for nearly 300 years. The Ptolemies adopted many Egyptian customs to legitimize their rule, building temples and depicting themselves as traditional pharaohs. The fusion of Greek and Egyptian cultures reached its apex during this era, particularly in Alexandria, which became a center of learning and commerce. The last Ptolemaic ruler was Cleopatra VII, whose reign was marked by both brilliance and tragedy. Her political alliances with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony placed her in direct conflict with Rome. Following her defeat by Octavian, later Augustus, in 30 BCE, Egypt was annexed into the Roman Empire, marking the definitive end of pharaonic rule. Themes in the rise and fall of dynasties. Centralization versus fragmentation. A recurring theme in Egyptian history is the struggle between central authority and regional autonomy. Egypt thrived under strong, centralized rulers who maintained Ma'at through administrative control, religious institutions, and military might. Conversely, periods of decline often coincided with weakened central authority, regional rebellions, and foreign invasions. Religion and legitimacy. the pharaohs' divine status was not merely ceremonial, it was critical to their political legitimacy. Pharaohs who deviated too far from religious norms, such as Akhenaten, often destabilized the state. Those who skillfully aligned themselves with major deities, like Ammonius or Ra, reinforced their rule. Foreign influence and adaptation. Though often perceived as isolated, Egypt was deeply connected to the wider ancient world. Trade, diplomacy, and war brought it into contact with Mesopotamians, Nubians, Hittites, Libyans, Greeks, and Romans. Foreign rulers could gain acceptance if they adapted to Egyptian customs, as seen with the Nubian and Ptolemaic dynasties. However, prolonged foreign dominance eventually eroded the traditional structures of pharaonic rule. The story of Egypt's greatest dynasties is one of resilience, innovation, and adaptation. From the builders of pyramids to the warrior kings of empire, from religious reformers to foreign rulers, the pharaohs shaped one of the longest and most influential civilizations in human history. Yet their power was never absolute or eternal. Dynasties rose by unifying the state, managing resources, and maintaining religious legitimacy. They fell when they failed to adapt to internal challenges and external threats. Today, the legacies of these dynasties endure in monuments, art, and literature, reminders of a civilization that mastered the desert and defied time. The pharaohs may be gone, but the power they wielded continues to inspire awe and fascination, thousands of years after their reigns ended. Explanation. This 1,800-word essay was structured to follow the chronological progression of ancient Egyptian dynasties while highlighting broader themes that explain their rise and fall. Here's how it was organized. Introduction sets the stage for understanding the role of pharaohs in Egyptian civilization. Each major historical period, Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom, etc., is discussed with its major achievements and reasons for decline. Notable rulers like Narmer, Khufu, Akhenaten, and Cleopatra are introduced to illustrate key turning points. Thematic analysis in the penultimate section ties the historical narrative to broader concepts such as centralization, religion, and foreign influence. Reflects on the legacy and long-term significance of these dynasties. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the rise and fall of Egypt's greatest dynasties. From the towering pyramids to the powerful pharaohs who shaped history, ancient Egypt remains a symbol of timeless ambition and mystery. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the ancient world. Share your thoughts or favorite dynasty in the comments below, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep seeking the secrets of the past, and remember, history lives on through those who are curious enough to uncover it.